Hey, Davish, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, we're in Scorpio season, so hello. The fight is on, right? Scorpio, the battle is on between ego and soul. The soul has to win in Scorpio. The soul has to grow. It's like if the soul is the yin force, by the time we get to Scorpio, the days are noticeably longer. No, shorter than the sun, than the nights. The nights are longer than the days. Yes. Yes. Hey, just had to work that out.
Listening week.
Oh, man. What did you say? What kind of week is it?
We're one day in.
Listening. Okay. Do you have an example already? What?
I've done a lot of listening already today. I listened on the way over here to some music.
Uh-huh.
And I was listening to my inner voice. We had an appointment before this.
Yes.
And that was a listening opportunity and a really exciting one. I'm still kind of reverberating from that. So I'll try to keep here while we're just excited about a few things that we won't share yet, but excited nonetheless.
Yeah, and it's just that I know that I tell people I listen for a living, and when I'm in a session with someone, I'm hearing not only what my intuition is telling me or my guides, but I'm hearing what maybe they want to say versus what they are saying, and then I have some lawyers as clients, and they talk about that I would be a good cross-examiner, that you ask the leading question, because, a couple of lawyers have said, no, you ask some really good leading questions. Well,
I think I would be a good cross-examiner.
Oh, hell yeah.
I feel like I can always take out the question that's not being asked.
Yes, I would agree.
And it's usually ones people don't want to be asked.
Well, yeah. But that's Scorpio for you. That Scorpio season is where you're blocked or where you feel, when I said the battle's within, it is. The warrior battle or the battle with the ego is inside on one level. How do you hear? No, it wasn't music for me this morning because I couldn't find my speaker. I couldn't find my flip. I don't know where it is. It's normally in the kitchen or in my bedroom.
So you were forced to listen to something else?
Yes, I was forced to listen to, I was watching a show in the background, and then I was on the phone listening to different clips of political different stuff. So nothing really struck today, except I still don't know where the speaker is. But listening to the session we had, I heard some things that have been said to me before, but today I felt like that they permeated my emotional body. Yeah, that they got deeper in.
You could feel it in the listening from a physical standpoint.
Yes. Oh, I know what I heard something differently. Yesterday, I was watching The Voice. And one of the coaches, I forget which one it was, talked about singing. He heard the singer singing from their core part of their body versus their head or throat. Because, Cherry has a nickname for Patti LaBelle. She calls her the nasal queen because she sings from here sometimes, So I will say Patti LaBelle and Cherry invariably say, you mean the nasal queen? Oh, she's not here today. She's not feeling well. So send your healing energies for her.
She's here. She's just not.
Yeah, she's just not on the tape yet, but she's here. So what else is there?
So deep in listening this morning, and I do a thing if I have time in the morning on my little drive to work, and I have this iPod in my car.
Okay.
Really old. And so I'll put it on shuffle, and the first 3 songs tend to mean something to me. And all 3 of those songs tied to a person or a situation that has been addiction heavy for me. So one reminded me of a person I've lost, and 2 was some things in family. So listening that week, it just started reminding me of how this week even came up. was people start doing things to prevent themselves from hearing an inner voice. When they feel shame or ridicule, they stop listening, and they use drugs, alcohol, all those kinds of things to cover up hearing. So many of the things that we do that create shame and that make us unhappy are things done to avoid listening to an inner voice, because we really want to be this idea of normal, or whatever we want to project ourselves to be that isn't the real person that we are.
I get that. Oh, because I couldn't listen to since I couldn't find the speaker, so I ended up listening on my laptop, because like I told you, the tarot card I got today was the Queen of Pentacles reversed, which was about taking better self-care. I meant to vacuum this floor too here to get but I forgot and ended up taking a bath instead, because shower, and so I listened to the tarot card, because Queen of Pentacles is about better care of the physical body, and they said if you're stressed, bathe. So that's what I did. I listened, and here comes Mr. Baba. So there we go.
And at work this morning, we weren't very busy, and with the masks and all the stuff that we're wearing now, I don't get to talk to people as much as I used to, or I don't talk to them as much as I used to, because I'm trying to keep conversation to a minimum. But we had very few patients today, and it was easy to stand 12 feet away from them and have a little bit more conversation. So just listening to what was going on in someone's life and breathing with them around whatever pain they were having. It was just nice to be present in other energies today, and listening outside of just my stuff, but what's going on outside. We have snow.
Yes.
For the first time, so the trees feel different, and the outside sounds different and feels different. And so I spent a little bit of time outside with the dog, just hearing the noises of the morning sound like winter instead of sounding like
fall.
Fall.
Yeah, because you don't hear the leaves crinkle
right
like they do when it's dry, for sure. What else? And like right now, I just heard that the heat has come on. The furnace has come on to warm the house. So it's listening, particularly if you have strong Capricorn or Gemini in your chart. The ear is really important to those signs. Well, it's not like it's not important to the rest of us.
It's important, period.
Yeah, it's important, period. And it's your understanding of what you think you heard, particularly in the Mercury retrograde. I know one of the things that I got stuck on playing last night was Aretha Franklin's version of Bridge Over Troubled Water.
You've been stuck on that for a
little
bit.
It just came back. It just came back again, and partially due to because I see Scorpio. The beginning of Scorpio, we can feel real troubled, about loss and about attachment and about grief, and the grief can come from our ego attachments, which is what this time of year is about. Because when I joke and say the battle's within, it really is in the managing of one's attachments, one's emotional attachments. That is one of the lessons of Scorpio.
I've got a good listening lesson.
What was that?
That came to me, not this week, but within the last week. And I tend to get some of the information for the next week and the previous week. And as you start doing this work, you find that, everything kind of attaches to one of the weeks.
Yeah.
So for me, this was a real heart opener. And I am not a fan of Donald Trump. But I really fall very in the middle on issues and things like that. I'm a Libra. I tend to just do that. But I also note that the more democratic, liberal people spend more time in considered thought around the people that don't believe what they do, whereas the Trump supporters tend to disregard, they're just stupid or, just some qualification.
With owning the libs?
Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to any of that. But I had a very pro-Trump patient in the office, and I don't engage in any of those conversations at work, but he wanted to talk, and so I just listened, but with heartfelt, real care. As a Trump supporter, I heard this man say, I just don't understand why the Democrats and the liberals can't see what he has done. And I was shook. And I haven't done it yet, but it makes me want to actually go look at a list of policy things just so that I actually am educated. But I listened to somebody care. Mm-hmm. And I don't generally spend time around people who aren't flippant with that attitude. So this is the first time I truly heard somebody with care from an opposing viewpoint say something, and it touched me differently. It made me put wonder to their words rather than dismiss what they said without listening to them. So it made me want to take a step further into knowledge, and I think that's where listening really can benefit us by leading us in the direction of things that we wouldn't otherwise look at.
Yeah. I heard that.
It's weird, isn't it?
I heard that. I said to someone that I know is a Trump supporter that just last week that I said, our relationship is bigger than this. Because when I look at the policy deriving of his policies, that's one aspect. But there has to be, I think the collateral benefit of this individual being president is his being a reflection of what ignorance will get you, possibly, but what also... Or ego. And our ability, I think, to just grow as a planet, as a nation. Because what I've heard, because I have clients that I know are Trump supporters, and I could be their tithe, they're coming to, offer some money to something that they may not agree with my policies or who they think I promote or support. But I just know that listening, there has to be good faith, though, too, I think, with listening as well. There's a mutuality in certain ways. Would he hear your side of it, you think?
I don't know.
And it's not important for him to you that he hears it or not, is it? Yeah.
This was about my listening and not getting a reaction. I think this session, particularly of this work, has really driven that home for me, how much the work is about me and using the people around me as the framework for my learning, but really, I'm not here to teach. I'm here to learn. I might inadvertently teach. And hopefully I'm an example because I'm modeling something that I want people to learn from.
Well, you can teach through your example, but your motivation is more to learn and to grow.
Right.
Yes. And if you ask the question, see, I still think that it's you who ask the questions that move us along in terms of growth and evolution. It's not always knowing or having answers. It's not always being able to, yeah, I heard that. And I'm at an almost neutral space around whatever happens on next Tuesday, in the sense that, yes, I don't want 4 more years. However, I just think it depends on how I opt it, and what have we learned our lessons?
And that's you know, that's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And whether they even recognize what their lessons are.
Or do they care?
And do they care?
Do they care?
And just one more piece on listening that I think is important. You know, we all get our information fed to us.
Oh, via the algorithms?
Via the algorithms. And so, you know, really taking a look back at how your information comes, what you like, and that everything is fed to you by the things that you like. So how much do you step outside of what you like to learn about information that you don't like? And not to put it down, to actually become less ignorant.
And I think that's why once there is healthy self-talk, where you're really looking at, I think, the source of your frustration or the source of whatever it may be, then you have, I think, a stronger capacity. It's like deeper roots. So if some water that comes along that is very strongly in disagreement to what you are rooted in, the deeper those roots, the more the water is just not going to knock you off kilter, not going to knock you off balance. So.
Well, and if you're actively listening, you're not going to get knocked off balance because you're regrouping.
Yes, and deeper
water.
Within, to keep with the root metaphor, you're going deeper and deeper within yourself in order to maybe understand the other person, to understand what he, she, or they may be going through. So,
in my personal listening exercise, I live on a busy street.
Okay. Yeah, you do.
But I have a beautiful garden, and I have a beautiful backyard. I also live next to a hospital on a busy street. And my husband is a retired fireman, so anyone that knows where we live that's in a fire truck or an ambulance come by and lays on the horn pretty regularly. Get a lot of hellos that way. So it's a great exercise for me in being outside and finding this Zen energy and really getting lost in it, and then realizing I can be pulled to the sounds outside of the yard, and then I'm in this chaos. And you can go back and forth between those two in minutes, but it really, you know, it makes you aware of which you're listening to. Are you listening to all the hard things that bother you, or are you focused on the things that are good and beautiful? Because in there's this just incredibly safe, awesome, meditative space available in this loud corner. And so I every time we talk about moving, I really don't want to leave that particular piece of my environment. I love it.
Because it's helped you to discipline in listening.
Gives me a perspective on what I'm actually paying attention to. What am I really listening to? Does a noise in the background really have to bother you?
Well, I remember speaking that, because, you know, we're one block off of a busy street. And I remember it was one Friday evening where a number of churches gathered on Troost to talk about lives mattering, Black Lives Mattering, and what have you. And I could hear them. It was warm, so the window was up. The window was open. And I could hear the honking of the horns. And I'm like, why are these? And so I went outside and actually stood and talked to some of the people there. And I would not have done that if I hadn't heard why this was going on.
So the same horn.
Yes.
That sounded like jarring, and why is that there, and that's bothering me. When you have a meaning attached to it, it means something beautiful.
Yes. And I ended up meeting some of the people. It was actually a really good exercise in, because one group, I think it was the African Christian Fellowship group, they had masks, and each of the masks had a different virtue, like love or peace, and I had never seen that. Because this was early on, I think, in the COVID crisis. So yeah, it did shift. Because at first I was like, what is all of this? And I said, oh, it's repetitive. So it's not just an accident. And it got, yeah, okay. Hadn't put that together. Had not put that together. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, this week, let's all work on listening.
All right.
And we'll be back next week for Values and Ideals.
Thank you. Have a good week. Happy Halloween and Day of the Dead.